Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about a little bit more about the topic of depression, loneliness and suicidal thoughts, and a little bit about my own life journey and what I understand about certain elements of spirituality from my own life's journey. And this is the same thing I believe that anyone, when we are going through a really tough or hardship based challenges in our life, all of us have to understand the value of that and purpose of that hardship based, darkness based, negativity based experience in our life. Because when we are someone who has to exist on earth, like how at the basic chemical elemental structure element has a positive and neutral core in the center, and then it has some elements of it has the neutrons surrounding its core. Like that, every human being has a neutral and positive center and some negative elements related to their personality. This is what the basic yin yang principle is also about, where if we have a little bit of positivity and a lot of negativity, we are the feminine element, or we are part of the feminine energy of the universe. If our center is less more positive, if our positivity is more and our negativity is less, then we are part of the masculine energy of the universe. And both the masculine energy of the universe and feminine energy of the universe has its purpose. And when you look at the yin yang symbol of the Vesica Pisces symbol, where even though in the 2D form, when we are looking at it in the paper, it looks like there are two fishes, and it looks like two fishes. One is a black fish with a white eye and another is the white fish with the black eye. Despite that white fish with the black eye and the black fish with the white eye, it's not actually that structured, the feminine and masculine energies of the universe. It's not like two different fishes. It's actually something like there will be a negative and positive element, and there will be the in-between elements too. The line that we see in a 2D thing, there's no demarcation like that in reality. The reality of a 3D earth, it's like a sphere. And when it's like a sphere, how water flows everywhere, it's like a watery thing, or air flows everywhere. Part of it is solid, like earth, but part of it also has the air and water like earth has, because of which it's a fluid thing, it's a airy thing, it's a solid thing, all in combination. And then there's also the fiery element, which is the fire of earth, which is the energy of things that drive us into doing things. And that fire, when you have fire on earth, how is fire generated? Fire is generated by friction. And how is friction generated? When two negative elements are sparking against each other, it will cause fire. Now if there is too much negativity, like when wars start happening, what happens? There is, when two nations are fighting against each other, or two political beliefs are fighting against each other, or two religious beliefs are fighting against each other, or people are fighting for socioeconomic control, whatever is happening, when the fire, that friction that arises is too much of a friction, it leads to that big explosion like thing, and that is how wars start everywhere. That explosion can be, when it was ancient times, the explosion was happening simply by people murdering each other via knives or via swords. The knife fight used to happen by between who? Two thieves might be fighting via knives with each other. A person who's hating their spouse might be doing that. They want to murder their spouse, they could do that. Someone who's jealous of someone else's possessions might end up being so jealous that they decide to kill that person so that they can take over and become that person's. Like, say you're jealous of another woman and you want their husband, so you kill the wife and you become the second wife of the person. And this thing that happens in the used to happen in the past at the subtle level, at the very overt level of someone murdering someone using a knife or something, slowly got transitioned into what? Slowly got transitioned into silent covert manipulations as well. And instead of the direct attack, some people do indirect attack. The ones who want to do indirect attack, they will poison someone, or they will poison someone's mind and thought and ears, and then after poisoning them, then they want to cause an attack. That also starts happening. Then there are those who are and this is the direct and indirect things that lead to war. Again, when two people are fighting, like say India and Pakistan are fighting, is it necessary that the friction that was caused between India and Pakistan when any war is happening, even though the ones who are directly in the war's decision making points might be truly fighting against another ideology or another country, at the background, the people who are influencing that war could be neither Indian nor Pakistani. It could be someone from Afghanistan, someone from China, someone from Russia, someone from Bangladesh, who might want this war to happen, and that's why they might make the Indians think that the Pakistanis are doing something, or the Pakistanis think that the Indians are doing something, and then a war arises. Same way, if there was a war in Korea, the North Koreans might think that South Korea is doing it, South Korea might think that North Korea is doing it, when again it might be the Russians or the Chinese or the Japanese or someone else, or all people in combination who want that fight to arise. But in all this, even though this is a highly negative situation when a war is arising, usually there's again some divine plan at play. The reason why also fights are happening, wars are happening, friction happens at such mass scale that grand scale war and destruction will happen, when it is happening directly in the form of a war, most people involved in that is a very masculine energy of the doer type, the one who wants to do something for their country, the one who wants to do something for keeping their women safe. Those are the people who are directly fighting the war, and those are the people who are directly instigated to fight the war. But behind the scenes, there's something covertly going on. Covertly someone is manipulating sometimes, and usually the person who's manipulating is someone influenced by the devil. The one who's directly fighting is also influenced by the devil, the one who's covertly fighting is also influenced by the devil. But do you think God doesn't know what devil is doing? God also knows what the devil is doing. And this is where, even though devil is considered like the most evil, via the devil, even through the devil's darkness, light is always brought on earth, because when a place is fighting at this level, those people have usually lost the balance of life. They either don't have balancing elements in their immediate surroundings, they don't have the balancing people to balance them, they don't have the balancing energy, they don't realize what is needed to balance them, and that's why war is happening. I just saw some videos recently about a cartoon that is talking about the Afghanistan Taliban based war and those principles. And when I saw that cartoon, and prior to that also have seen other cartoons that talk about how humans end up fighting, and in all those cartoons, and I see cartoons because I don't like war movies, I very rarely enjoy watching war movies, and because of which a cartoon is a little easier way to dull the cruelty of the war, and a cartoon shows more of the emotional elements related to the war. So because of those animated sketches, what I realized about the Afghanistan Taliban related thing, and it's not just this cartoon that influenced me to understand this has happened to me when I have lived also with many masculine energy people, and it didn't matter whether they are a man or they are a woman. Many women and men I have met in my life have had this masculine energy predominant in them, because of which they don't have the and sometimes they are couples with another person with a heavy masculine energy, which causes what, when two more masculine energy oriented people are marrying each other, while at the surface it might look like a perfect match because I'm your buddy, you're my buddy, that kind of a system is happening. What happens is they devalue the feminine energy. When they have devalued the feminine energy, forgotten the purpose, either they devalue, they disrespect, they forget the purpose of feminine energy, they forget to accept the feminine inside them and inside others. And this is how Taliban came up. Those men who are in the Taliban, why are they in the Taliban? They are wanting to, maybe some of them came into the Taliban because they wanted to protect the women from certain elements of the male gaze, the way a man sees a woman, because it's Taliban is kind of like a extremist version of the Islamic faith's good belief system points. The good belief system points of the Islamic religion is to keep women safe, to keep women away from the male gaze, to teach men how to be respectful towards the women, right? And this is what I understand about it. Again, I'm not a theist on any of the religious principles, but coming from an outsider's perspective, this is what I believe is the core value system that should continue about that religion. But when the core value system gets distorted, this was the positive and negative reason for it. The negative reason for certain principles of Islam to exist is because women were in places where they were getting sexually disrespected. Many of the people who are from the Islamic faith originally, when Islam also started, they were all tribal people living in desert-like areas. So in desert-like areas, when water is scarce, food is scarce, resources are scarce, why were they desert tribes moving in the desert area? So that they can go and find better and better resources, or when the resource of a oasis has dried up, they are moving to another place so that they can again get access to some resources. But while they are moving, now the tribes start fighting with each other. Why do they start fighting with each other? Because in the desert the resources will be limited, and with limited resources there is invariably a fight until humans figure out how to make the limited resources work a long way, or truly pray to God, truly ask God, how do I change this to get it transferred into a better way of living? Now, when praying to God also, what happens, which has happened to me as well, that when we are praying, sometimes we will be given a carrot, but that carrot will not be coming from God. Like, say I'm hungry, I need food. When I am hungry and I need food, I can get food from a good source and a bad source. But sometimes the devil will show me food which I will think is coming from God, or it is a blessing from God, and I will accept it. But when I accept it, if it has come from the devil, whatever I have accepted will then eventually lead to more and more devil related, darkness related and evil related things to propagate, which is what happened in all these Taliban like places. Anywhere where there is war and friction, what happens? Who's giving them the carrot? Someone who wants to control those resources. Some resources were there in these Afghanistan areas that people wanted to control. It was a central area where if you've read some thriller books also, I have got this information from thrillers, from stories, rather than directly ever been involved in any political related things. And my source of information comes from there. My understanding comes from all fictional elements of books I have read regarding this. And from that I understood that it is political motivations of two diverse political ideologies which resulted in putting money and funds into a desert-ridden, poverty-stricken place where people were funding whatever people were funding. And when you are really at the worst stage in your life, whoever gives you money, you will take the money thinking that money is important. And this is the reason why again Taliban came up, and again the whole country got destroyed. If people who are from Afghanistan, and not just from Afghanistan, if you're from Israel or Palestine, if you're from India Pakistan area where the fightings occur in India, Pakistan, or Indo-Chinese area where fightings occur between Indians and Chinese, whichever part of India or the world you're from, where you came from a place where a lot of conflict was there, a lot of resource was limited. This is a life lesson for all those people, because I have myself faced that life lesson, but in a very different way. I was living in a place where food was accessible, but again, when I became cancer ridden, every food that was accessible was not the right food. So I had to make a choice, which is the right healthy food, which is the unhealthy food. Now someone who's come from a war stricken area, a poverty stricken family, they looking at me rejecting really bad food, like if it is fungus ridden, I can't eat it. But are there days I'm eating even fungus ridden food? Yes, if I'm extremely hungry, and this is how God is teaching me this lesson. Like if I'm extremely hungry, and I also am extremely sick as well, at that time point this is this decision: if I eat this poison, I might die today or tomorrow after eating a very poisonous food. It could be a poisonous food because it has fungal contamination, it could be a microbial contamination, it could be a viral contamination, it could be chemical contamination, whatever it is. If I eat and God has given me, God knew that this might likely be the place where I will end up, given the decisions and choices I'm making in life, and because or the other people around me are making in life, and which is what happened. So given the decisions and choices others were making and I was making simultaneously, all of them together led me to a particular place where now I'm consuming foods which are worse and worse for my health. But some days I'm getting good food, some days I'm not getting good food. If I pray to God, of course I'm getting good food, but I'm also praying, like if you're consistently in a misery, some people are also praying for death. And this is why also in Taliban like places, or Israel or Palestine like war ridden places, or any India Pakistan war like places, wherever war is happening, there are going to be certain people who want to survive through all this. There are going to be some people like me who are some days wanting to survive, some days wanting to die. And there are also going to be some people who just simply want their existence to end. So when all of these people are combined living in certain areas like this, what can God do? God has to accept the greatest good. And if the greatest good is this, that majority, the ones, there is only, like, let's say in a particular region where the fight is occurring, like if it is just the Afghanistan story, in Afghanistan, one country, two diverse ideologies are fighting there, but the people there are miserable, right? And some want to die, some want to survive, some don't really care, they've given up of either, they are okay with either choice happening. But in such a misery ridden area, the ones who really want to survive are either, or ones who are really going to survive are either those people who have a higher purpose, or those people who have really the will to survive. These are the only two percentages of types of population who will survive there. Everyone else will not either survive, or if they are surviving, the only reason they are going to survive is because someone who was really wanting to survive was not really ready to let them go. So if there's and this cartoon was like that, there's a girl who wants to survive, but she also wants her family to survive, she also wants her dad to continue along with her. So she's doing everything to get the dad rescued, even though the dad got arrested. And she had that determination, she had that will, so she kept getting the help also from God to continue what she wanted in her life, because she was really fighting to survive something that many people can't fight to survive through. And because she was really fighting to survive through something that other people can't survive through, whatever was needed to keep her alive or going, because again, why is she fighting to survive? She's fighting to survive for her family only. So if she's fighting to survive for her family, other people related to her have to also survive. And if they die sooner, then her drive and will to survive through this will go away, and her drive and will has a higher purpose. That's why she kept surviving. And I have only seen clips of this video, but I haven't seen the whole video. of the whole series or movie or whatever this was clip about, because I didn't go and research the details about it. But this is what I learned from her story. So this is the truth of everyone who survives through now a particular war. But while this girl had the right emotional energy and right things related to love that made her survive, there will be also some people who will just simply want to survive because they want to take revenge later on in life. Now, if that is why you survived, do you think eventually that purpose that made you survive and made you go through life continuously for so long will give you the drive to eventually continue surviving? Or will you one day become exhausted? Will you one day lose all the things that made you survive? Will you one day eventually that's why be more likely to die than survive? Because your heart energy, your emotional reasons, your overarching higher purpose related reasons, your spiritual reasons, all of it is determining what path you will eventually take in life. And again, that people who are going to survive for negative reasons, they will also be allowed, some of them will also be allowed to survive, because maybe they have a skill that a younger person who may have just a heart doesn't have that skill. So that person has to learn that. If you see in Game of Thrones, that is how Arya Stark survives. Arya Stark survives out of negativity in majority part of the story, but it is the positivity, and in Arya Stark's case it's the opposite thing that's happening, where she doesn't have any survival skills. She wanted to fight and she knew how to do a little bit of sword fight, but she doesn't know that much of sword fighting things also, and she's a tiny girl. But because she needed some things to survive, and she was trying to survive actually for her family. So in Arya Stark is a character who is a mid character who's surviving for her family, but who has also revenge inside of her. She has both inside of her. That's why some darkness filled people also came and helped her, some light filled people also came and helped her. And that is how life is. If you have darkness and light inside you, darkness and light will try to help you. If you have more of light inside of you, even from the darker circumstances, you will learn how to see the light. If you have more of darkness inside of you, even from the light circumstances, you might end up seeing darkness in a light filled circumstances as well. And these are all the things. God knows where a soul is going, how a soul is going, or a body is going in a particular life. And then after the body has gone in a particular life in a particular way, in those places where wars are happening, those souls who are in extreme misery and they have been praying for years and years for some change to happen, this is the only change left in that area where people forgot the real value of living. Because the only reason wars happen, natural calamities happen, natural disasters happen, families break up, or social systems break up, or anything that humans created ends up failing. Everywhere the things that end up failing, breaking up, destroying, completely fracturing, and ending happens because there is a reason and higher purpose for that to end. Because in desert climate like Afghanistan, there's not enough resources for many people to survive. And then if only Taliban is allowed to survive, where Taliban only supports the masculine energy, is disrespecting the feminine energy, again, if only that ideology is coming up, that ideology also can't survive. There's no balancing element anymore. So when I began this video and I was talking about when two masculine energies are attracted to each other, marrying each other, that's fine. Two masculine energies got attracted, they got married, they got pulled into this. And apart from those masculine energy people who are doing it, the person who helped this girl now survive through this war a little bit when he helped in rescuing her dad, this guy had actually the balancing feminine and masculine energy. But unfortunately, even though he has the balancing feminine and masculine energy, he has no other choice to continue because his wife has died. So if his wife has died, his balancing feminine energy is gone. And even though he values women, respects women, he has loved women, there's no other choice for him to continue the path with them, who are only masculine energy oriented people, because not enough women are there and not enough women can be protected. He can help in protecting some women, some families in the minor ways that he is trying to protect them, but most of the time he can't really protect them because he is surrounded by people who are mostly in their either very deep masculine energy, where they are hating the feminine energy of anyone who opposes them is hated by them, because that is the purpose of the feminine energy. The purpose of the feminine energy is to show you the light of, if you are going wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, this is not the right path. But they hate that no one they want only the masculine to prevail in their life. So they hate that if their mother said don't do this, if their teacher said is trying to warn them don't do this, or this is not the right path to choose, they are unwilling to listen to the feminine. And because they are unwilling to listen to the feminine, they are unwilling to discern the value of the feminine, and because they are unwilling to discern the value of the feminine, they keep going on this masculine path of whatever I'm doing is right. And maybe partly he is right that if he doesn't join the army, he will not get the money or food. But this is where God comes into play. If you really wanted to survive in the right way, doing the right things, if you pray to God, if you truly pray to God, if you truly believe in God, the resources that went away, the food that has gone away, that food will come back. The thing is, humans are fighting for food actually. They need food, they need clothes, they need good shelter. But in order for food, clothes and shelter to be present even in a desert, you have to have the right balancing masculine feminine energy. Without the right balancing masculine feminine energy and the presence of God in that area, of any area of the world, misery doesn't go away, scarce resources doesn't go away, because scarcity also happened. Why did scarcity happen in a desert is a place where people are not crying to God, people are not crying, people are not able to cry. Too much sun is there. When is too much sun in a particular place? Too much sun without the other balancing elements, wherever it is present, it can be a desert, it can be also a land where the land is slowly turning barren. In all these places, the feminine energy is again getting disrespected. When someone is crying, that is getting disrespected. When rains are happening, it is getting disrespected. When people are challenging you that this may not be the right path to do something, you are disrespecting it. And because of which, or if these three things are not there in a human being, the whole system is learning very toxic, devil oriented or earth misaligned practices. When you learn earth misaligned practices also, that is when also the area of earth will destroy. Because there are greenery oriented places I have seen in India, many greenery oriented places where lot of greenery is there. So it superficially seems as if we are going to have a good clean life in those places. The people living there are having a good clean life because we have lot of plants growing there, lot of food is present there. But even though lot of food is present in those areas, lot of plants are there to give oxygen, again the humans there have destroyed the value of feminine energy in that place as well. They ignored the feminine energy that tells you also, feminine energy is also supposed to drive you towards doing a balance. There the balanced masculine feminine energy is missing. So the distorted masculine feminine energy causes the humans in those areas where greenery makes it seem as if everything is good, and it seems like the sun, air, all the other earth's elements are also in equal levels. So superficially it may seem that these areas are going to survive, but they will not survive simply because balanced masculine feminine energy holding people are missing from that area. Because if you were in a balanced masculine feminine energy, you will be easily able to perceive when something superficially looks good or might check all the marks of what actually seems to preserve life on earth, but something is missing, and that something is the god element might be missing, the balancing masculine feminine energy might be missing, the understanding of even if something looks good may not always be good. What looks good, if greenery is there, but if inside the greenery, like this is what is happening to my body, that's why I understand this. On the outside I look like a physically fit healthy human being. Very few people actually observe that I am unhealthy, or I am actually at the brink of a collapse, and I have been at the brink of a collapse for almost 4 years. And this was I'm in the brink of a physical collapse, whereas I went into the brink of it's first started with the brink of financial collapse first, and a little bit of financial and emotional collapse. These two collapses happened almost 12 years back to me. No one observed that. Then I balanced it a little bit for a while, and the financial and emotional collapse didn't matter anymore, because I came to a country where whatever finances I had, while it was not enough for me to sustain a life in US, that finance was enough to sustain a life in India. So the financial collapse didn't happen. And the emotional collapse also didn't happen, because I was living in an illusion of people caring about me. But when both the illusion of people caring about me collapsed, and universe deliberately set up a set of circumstances where, because of a health collapse and multiple reasons causing the health collapse, a financial collapse was tied to it. So when all of these things happened at the same time, that is when I truly understood that even though I was living in a false light of people caring for me, I understood that they don't. And because I understood that, then I understood about slowly from that day onwards, I started understanding these things related to war, diseases, destruction. And I was guided also, that's why, to travel one time just by myself, because when you're traveling with other people, you don't observe these things about illusions, because when you're with other people, some people will also prevent you from observing the illusion that is happening. So when no one was there with me while I was traveling, except like people were there, meaning people were helping me. I'm not saying that humans were not helping me, but I was in general having enough time and space to just observe what was going on. When I was just the observer of what was going on, and I only could have been the person who was observing these things, because if people didn't have science related education, some basic science related education like mine, some basic education and life experiences that I have had, all these things that I've observed in all these travels about what is the illusion of what looks like good but isn't really good or healthy for us anymore. It's not that that place didn't have what was good. It had a balancing masculine feminine. Some of these places had balancing masculine feminine energy, or the god energy driving them into doing certain good things, or a neutral energy driving them to do some good things. But despite this happening in those places for a while, the people who could continue that, those people are either dead, or the people who could influence the right god energy, balancing energy, understanding energy of also, because in order to bring balance, the true value of a feminine energy is also to destroy everything that is not good for future of humanity, for balancing health, balancing life. The true purpose of the masculine energy is to help the feminine energy that understands what is not sustainable, what is needs change, what needs rectification. There are certain things that need to be changed, certain things that need to be redirected, certain things that need to be destroyed. That is what the true value of the masculine energy is. And things come to the destruction level only when there is very few things salvageable in that area, or people are not waking up to what is salvageable, what has to be destroyed, and people are continuing to follow practices that they've learned for many years, and they are unwilling to let go of the practices that are harmful, and unwilling to accept the practices that are going to be beneficial in the future. Right now at this time point maybe it is not beneficial, but slowly eventually it will be a beneficial thing. So people also have forgotten the value of that feminine energy, which teaches us the value of a loss. And those people also end up having the most destruction or the most calamitous destruction in their life. My destruction, all these things that I went through, I also went through the same things as a person in a war zone goes through, or a person in a very those pandemic ridden society goes through, or a person in a patriarchy ridden society goes through, a woman in a patriarchy ridden society goes through. Whatever I went through exactly what those people go through, except that I am ready to learn the lesson from it and understand the value of that negative experience, and explain about it as well. So because I'm ready to do that, my destruction came at a very slow pace. It didn't happen in one fine day, but it was slowly unfolding. Those things that needed to be destroyed were getting destroyed. Those things that needed to be sustained were continuing to be sustained. And those things where I don't know what should be destroyed, what should be sustained, I was leading God to work on that. Because if I don't know, if I don't understand, at that time I have to surrender to God, and which is what I have been doing. And I didn't even introduce God in my life when I was in my 20s. Like for me, I was only superficially praying to God in my 20s, superficially understanding certain concepts about God in my early 30s. But truly, when I was saved from a very negative situation, and a couple of times I have been saved from, I realized on reflection that multiple times I have been saved from multiple situations where I could have died, or I wouldn't have lived through what I lived through. That is when I understood the value of God energy and the value of God truly being there in my life. And that is when I truly started believing in God. And while believing in God has been a very recent journey, that's why I'm still sometimes I get waylaid by the devil related thoughts, the darkness related thoughts, the worries that cause humans to go into the path of destroying something that was good in their life. And which is how also war happens. We also go the opposite way. You are denying the feminine energy is there in all of us. People don't realize it, but feminine is there in all of us. But if you deny the balanced feminine energy inside you and inside another person, what you end up creating inside yourself or building inside yourself is the distorted feminine energy. Because as soon as you start denying the balanced feminine, or the denying or devaluing or disrespecting the why feminine energy is coming to tell you to not do something, to destroy something, or to stop something, or to prevent something, and you have to have a critical discernment. If you have a balanced masculine feminine energy inside you, you will either discern by yourself what needs to be destroyed, what doesn't need to be destroyed, whether the right things are getting destroyed or not. And if you are confused because of whatever illusion maybe is going on in front of you, sometimes you will be confused. But that is where God comes into play. And the more you trust God, God will, sometimes you will make mistakes, but sometimes you will be given the right path to make the right choice. And that's a very narrow path. It's not a very broad path. So you can't be always making the right choice. There will be only one right choice, either only one right choice to make, or only one choice to make, or only something where you leave everything to God and you let go. Because sometimes those who are absolutely always doing, that is their life lesson. If I'm doing always all the time, maybe there is a time when I don't have to do something. It's my time to not do something. And if it is that person's time to not do something, they're aligned with their soul purpose. They've aligned again with God energy in them and within them, and also those God energy outside of them also will align with them. But if they are doing things that are in the distorted masculine feminine energy, they are not surrendering to God in the right way, they are not surrendering to the masculine feminine energy or balanced masculine feminine of another human being, that is when a person's ego comes into play and they decide whatever they are doing is the right thing. And then what starts happening, that is when the war is happening. That's when the poor practices happen that lead to a land becoming barren. That is when a true loss starts manifesting in a company. When you are in a company, like say you are a multi-million dollar company and you are doing everything that other multimillionaires have done, but what if you were the multimillionaire who was not supposed to do exactly everything that the other multimillionaires were doing? You were supposed to bring some change, do something different than other people who are practicing the same profession that you're practicing, and you were supposed to bring that change. That is why you were given the opportunity to create a new company similar to other companies, but that new company had to twist and change and shift into doing something different that is aligned with the benefit of mass scale of humanity. And in that also, if you will see two companies might be aligned with mass scale humanity, but again, if the mass scale humanity is going in a distorted masculine feminine energy pathway, then that company that is showing a lot of profit may also be misaligned. So eventually that course will be corrected, like meaning I do not want to speak the retailer names, but there are some very top class retailers in US, online retailer of and brick and mortar retailer, or both, because nowadays those retailers who are really successful are both online and brick and mortar retailers. Now those retailers in US, based on my business understanding of their operational functions and my consumer perspective also of having used the consumer goods that they sell, even though there are certain companies who are the massive global retailers right now, they are all doing practices that are misaligned with the future of humanity, or if not completely misaligned, they have initiated and inculcated for decades multiple ways of doing business that are unhealthy for human existence. So naturally, eventually, even though on paper right now they are one of those most successful companies, they will not be so in the future, because this is how it works. When they will crash, how they will crash will depend on multiple things, but they will crash eventually, because for decades they have sustained something that is unsustainable, or that devalues actually feminine energy. Because those profit ridden companies also, what is happening when a company is completely focused on only profit, what starts happening is, when you're only focused on profit or only focused on just looking at the revenues that you're generating, and that's it, you've forgotten everything else in your operational or social impact or other elements of what makes a company actually successful. Everyone thinks a company or a human being actually is successful when they earn a lot of money. And this is why also war is happening. Those people who think I only need money to fix my country's food scarcity problem, they get the money, they start the war, they think I need money, I need power and control of this area, and then I will fix everything. But that's not how you fix it. You start fixing it at the ground level. You do need money and power when a place has a lot of abundance. At that time money and power has value, when there is a lot of abundance present, and the person who has money and power can reallocate the resources in the right way. That is why you need money and power to reallocate, redistribute, use the resources efficiently. That's when money and power is needed. But money and power gets devalued when you've not known how to reallocate resources the right way. You've not understood the power of feminine energy to understand, because feminine energy also gives you intuition. So if you were a intuitively driven society, and logic and balance of intuition and logic is required to keep a country, keep a land, keep a family in the right path, aligned with God's way of evolution. So when that balance energy is gone and only masculine is driving it, of doing, you have to also undo that undoing energy comes from the negative energy inside you and outside anyone else who's advising you or who's helping you, who's working with you, who's supporting with you. So that's why right team members are required, right aligned forces are required, right aligned relationships are required. And after having that right aligned relationships, understanding who has the right vision to show you the right direction towards where you have to go. If you also don't understand, just because everyone does something doesn't make it the right thing. The right vision to in times of war, times of stress, times of pandemic, times of destruction of a mass scale family or mass scale business, times of redirection and change of some business policies, of mass scale impactful things in life, you need the right vision, you need the right path to unfold, because mass scale destruction will happen nonetheless, because so many masculine energy oriented people have destroyed something that could have been shifted or changed and redirected long time back in the past, but the right feminine energy was not valued or not accepted or not given the priority, because of which the distorted feminine kept getting the priority, or distorted masculine kept getting the priority, or distorted feminine masculine both together kept getting the priorities. And then as a result, that mass scale destruction of multiple things will happen wherever the massive poor practices have continued that can't. And poor meaning not the poverty, like people think they have this aversion to the word poor. Those who have aversion to the word poor don't understand the value of even a word poor, because being poor has different meanings according to what is going on, and the context changes, the context shifts. And same way, having money, its context changes and shifts, because what will you do in a war-ridden area if you are the top 10% richest person in that area? Maybe 1%, 2% of your family can get taken away because of the money you have, and they will go and lead a luxurious life in another country? No, because Afghanistan was a low socioeconomic, undeveloped country, or less developed country, or third world country like India, right? So because they were a country like that, even if you are the richest person in Afghanistan, are you the richest? Is that family member who is going to be taken away to America, say? Because that is what will happen. Say you gave money and some American took them and sneaked them out of the country. They are now living in America, but are they still having a quality of life? No, they don't have the quality of life. And while they were the richest in Afghanistan, now they are the poorest in America, or one amongst the poor in America, right? So, but why did this happen? This happened because your country's that person who's starting now from the bottom rung of the ladder in a different country, they came to learn that life experience of what it means to be rich as well as what it means to be poor. And if they do end up learning the right balancing lessons regarding money, regarding poverty, regarding what is truly being poor, and if they learn the right lessons aligned with God's way, they will again end up being successful in their life in a different country. And those same people, like if 10 people were extracted away from Afghanistan, like this has happened many times in US, where people have been rescued from Afghanistan, Iran, Vietnam, Korea, wherever American wars happened. Many Americans had good souls, so they did end up helping many of these Asians to go and rehabilitate themselves in America. So these are the same generational younger generations who came to America. So they had to learn something valuable about what was good about their Asian cultures, as well as what was good about the American culture they are living in. And if they don't learn it, their children are supposed to learn that. And that was the reason why some people get rescued. They don't just get rescued because you are a good person. You may get rescued because your child might eventually end up being a good person. That's why also God might rescue you. Or you had some good qualities in you that were meant to be preserved for the next generation. That's why you might get rescued. So there's multiple reasons why after a war, someone survives through a war, and there's multiple reasons how you can actually prevent a war from happening, or you can actually redirect and shift everything related to war if you start aligning with your own masculine and feminine energy and balance it in a way that is not distorted but balanced inside of you according to your life purpose, balanced in you according to God's will for your life, and balanced in a way that you are able to balance your life with other people in your life who are also in their balancing energy. And when you are interacting and meeting with people who are not balancing your energy, you have to have the courage to also say no to them, because when you have that courage, that is also the purpose of feminine energy. You can't keep saying yes to everyone who is misaligned with you, because if you have a particular purpose and in that purpose you have to be a particular way, you can't be, if you are supposed to be a university professor but you are sitting and taking a job of a kindergarten professor. It might be okay if in the beginning stages of your career you built up first being a kindergarten professor, then being a 5th graders teacher, then being a 10th graders teacher. If you slowly build that up, that is fine. But if you didn't even build that up, maybe you were a kindergarten teacher, then you were a 10th standard teacher, and then you never taught anyone, that is fine. But if you're meant to be a professor of a university level, you don't have to have all those. Not all university professors teach the lower levels. Some teachers only teach the higher level of college or higher levels in school, right? They are not going to teach all the lower levels because there are other teachers for the lower levels. You do that job only when there are no teachers to teach the lower levels. That's when you do it. Otherwise, there are always other people are allocated to do the lower level teaching. Like that in life also, if you have to have a particular way of living is your sole purpose. And can you be with those people who are not meant to be in that level of living? They don't want that level of living. If they want to live in the KG level of living and you want to live in the university level of living, like intellectually or socially, whatever a KG level teacher does, they do the simple fun activities with kids, they bring joy to the kids, they bring laughter in their lives, they make things interesting and fun. But a university professor, if I want to learn something, I don't care by the time I'm in a university if my professor is making the lecture fun for me. Some students might care and occasionally it might be good, but what I would more care about more, whether they're bringing me the quality of the teaching materials, whether they are teaching me, either they're giving me the right materials to learn, or if they are not giving me the right materials to learn, they are actually teaching me how to learn well. That professor I will appreciate more, right? Who's teaching in that complex way that a complex student needs learning. So like that is life is also like that with your life partners you choose, the family you choose. And you can, it's not that the university level teacher may not have the capacity to teach a kindergarten teacher, but the university level teacher, if they are doing too much serious thing also, they can't have the fun experiences with the KG teacher. For them, maybe to have the fun experiences with the KG teacher, he may have to have their own children first, and if they have taught those fun experiences with their own children, then they will know how to associate with younger kids. Otherwise, if you are at a university level, you've never interacted with true younger kids, you can't teach those younger kids, or you will be a bad teacher for those younger kids, even though you might be expert in so many topics, right? So every person's life purpose and life journey has a different path that needs to be taken, and that's why also you can't always mix and mingle with those people with whom your path and their path are entirely divergent. That doesn't mean that you hate them. If you start hating them, that's when war starts happening, friction, and all other things start happening. But if you stop hating them or start just understanding they have a purpose, I have a purpose, but our purposes are very divergent and different, when you understand that, you naturally can your path will naturally only get diverted away by God. You don't even have to work towards diverting it away. This is a life lesson I'm learning recently in recent years, because until recently, many a times I have naturally also taken some proactive actions when things are not working out with someone, to just remove myself from there, or to merging life paths with them. And if I haven't done that, which I did with those people with whom the conflict level were absolutely highest, and there was no balancing middle ground possible, where, and that is what you should do, that is the safety of a human being. Like, if someone is going to be physically violent with you, you remove yourself from them, because you can't stay somewhere where someone is attacking you, right? You shouldn't stay somewhere where someone is attacking you for whatever reason. It could be a false belief system, it could be whatever the reason. If there's no middle ground possible, you leave. So in those situations I left. But in those situations where I'm unable to leave, or I'm unable to decide what I should do, I always handed those decision points to God, and most of the time God has intervened. This is the last time where I am in a situation where I don't understand how to handle it at all, because whatever I knew until now, I have practiced until now, was not working here. So here I have to even more intensely leave everything to God and just do whatever I can do, because that is where, when you're in that final stage of a phase of a life with someone where whatever you do will not align with them, even though superficially it may seem like it is aligning to outsiders, but in reality it is not going to align with them. You have to completely leave everything to only God, because that is the only path left at that point of time. And in my previous video, when I was discussing, and this is where those people who are also having suicidal thoughts, I'll tell them, if you are having too much of a suicidal thought that you can't manage by yourself despite therapy, despite medications, at that time you have to leave certain things to God. Why I'm telling this to the suicidal thoughts oriented person is because when you are having suicidal thoughts, it means people in your personal life either don't understand you, or aren't giving you the space for you to be who you are, or you don't even have any right family or friends or social circle who will ever understand the pain that you have gone through or the journey you have gone through. So that's why you have to release things to God, because unless if you continue just manifesting the girl whose story I posted in my previous video also, that girl who was seeking therapy, that's the first step. She must have called out to God, and consciously or subconsciously, or her higher soul is working through her. So she has taken the right step to go to a therapist. But even now, after going to a therapist, she has to now go through to the right therapist. If she goes to a therapist who doesn't have any context about how it feels when you're betrayed by someone, when you've given everything to them, or how it feels when someone sexually assaults you when you repeatedly said no to them, or how it feels when someone is just exploiting you for money, or how it feels to be alone completely in life where no one is understanding you. If you are that kind of a person and you're with a therapist who has no context about any of these elements, or only has context about one of these elements, if they have context about one of these elements, yeah, they might be able to partially heal you about one of the element. But if they don't have context about all 5 elements of pain that you're going through, or you have gone through for multiple decades, they can't help heal you at all or give you the right guidance at all, because they have zero context. They've not lived that life. Even if they lived that life, they haven't understood how to work through the problems associated with that life. So that person can't help you in the right way. So now is your time point. If you have gone through a therapist, find the right therapist for you. If you're not finding the right therapist, that's when you have to, or you're only getting partial help from therapists, fine, continue going to those therapies if that is helping you at least partially. But then you start praying to God, what is the next solution for me? I don't understand, guide me. And don't stay in a city where you're just sitting and analyzing where you're going to fall from which building. Instead of doing that, go to a village, go to a locality where there are no high-rise building, because if you have sought help for not wanting to commit suicide, you have decided that you don't want to die. So if you've decided you don't want to die, then find the place where Instead of thinking about how to die, maybe you start asking God, how do I survive through this? This is what my last lesson is, that every day when I'm consuming food that is toxic and I'm not able to understand, am I supposed to survive through this, or am I supposed to die through this? If I'm supposed to survive, what are the things needed to survive? That is what I figured out, and when I figured that out, that is what I make the videos about in both my channels, where emotionally and spiritually what you're needing to survive, I talk about in this channel, and in my other channel I talk about physical health wise, what are the factors people need, physical or financial health wise, what people need to actually survive through when you have cancer, or survive through when you have financial difficulties or ups and downs, or any kind of blocks and obstacles that humans think that you have blocks and obstacles, but it's actually not a block and obstacle in the grand higher purpose of your life. It is just an obstacle you are either meant to take or not take, because there are many people in Afghanistan who didn't take the route of this girl's story, where the girl was fighting for her dad's life. And why was she fighting for her dad's life? Because her dad actually had the balanced masculine feminine energy, and her dad was a teacher, so he's a teacher who is needed by the world. So that's why he was given a girl who will fight for him, even though he's living in a city where girls fighting, or girls actually protesting and expressing their feminine energy was being oppressed. Despite that, this girl was given to this father too. So that is how it works in the world. When someone has to survive, they will survive because of whatever reasons are next there in their life, their soul purpose that is needed for the world, for them to actually survive. And then when some people will also survive, who will just drag on through life. I know many people who had riches, that riches didn't work for them. Many people who didn't have that much access to riches, but they had family who seem superficially, because they have family, they should help them survive through something. But no, their family only knew the basic element of kg level element of survival, where they have given them the medicine to keep them going. But just taking medicine to keep you going is not survival. And real survival and thriving is more than just giving medicine, more than just having someone superficially on paper as your family, or like they might be their real biological family, I don't know, whoever they are, they might be the family that they are, but that they say they are, but their family doesn't know the value of true family. So they don't know how to truly care. They don't understand that true care doesn't mean simply giving money. True care means more than giving money. True care means more than again, there also the devaluing of the feminine energy is happening, because feminine energy, the balanced feminine energy, feminine energy doesn't simply tell you don't do this, change that. Feminine energy also balances you into bringing some safety and peace and abundance in your life. Because if the feminine is the calming energy also sometimes, or so, because they have to be both, it has to be also know when to, the balanced feminine has to know when to destroy something. The balanced feminine also has to know how to bring peace into some life. Same way, the balanced masculine has to know how to do something, and the balanced masculine energy has to know how to undo some things as well. So these both elements are required to make a life balanced in someone's life. So when someone is just getting treated for a disease, a chronic disease that they have for a long time, if the same medicines that used to work in theory for multiple years are not working for the person, you have to understand the balancing feminine masculine energy holding person only can treat them the right way, to understand when the medicine is working, when it is not working, when a medicine should be given, when it should not be given, when a medicine not only should not be given, when the medicine has started becoming harmful, when it has to be completely stopped, and instead something else might have to be given, when it is not simply about medicine. Because this person now being poverty stricken, even though earlier they had riches, after 10-20 years they don't have riches, they've spent all their money on all futile resources or partly futile measures. So now they need also right reallocation of their finances. But there's no one in the family who knows how to reallocate finances, or even if there is someone in the family who knows how to reallocate finances the right way, if that person is not given the power or influence to redirect the change in the right way, again, even if you have the information, you can't do anything about it. So this is how also a society gets destroyed, that whoever has to lead next in the next phase of the journey, if they are not allowed to lead next in the next phase of the journey, or if instead of not even allowing them to lead, you also put unlimited barriers or futile barriers that will not stop the progress of what needs to happen next. What needs to happen next will invariably happen if that is what is needed for earth life to survive next. Now whether it will happen via the person, you think you can focus on one person, that this person is the evil, this person is bringing change that I don't like, I will stop this person. You can keep doing that to that person, but if you do it to the X person, but if there's certain things that have to invariably unfold in life, even if X is blocked, there'll be Y, Z, other people who will continue doing the work that needs to be done next, to continue the work that needs to unfold next on earth, because there will be other people to do it, because that is how God works. God may give you the God will cause certain people to stop the progress of the way in which God has envisioned life has to progress. And those people are the devil's workers who will be stopping continuously. Like some people are God's workers too, who will be stopping, because if friction is there, then only redirection might also be there sometimes. So those people who are aligned with God's way in stopping in the right way to guide someone into going in the way the change needs to happen. And that's why, in the Vesica Pisces, how does it turn? There is a turn there in the Vesica Pisces symbol. That turn is the turn that shows when light has to work, when dark has to work. Those who know how to navigate that path of light and dark, those are the people who are there in that middle zone of the narrow path, which seems like a line in the Vesica Pisces symbol, but it is not actually a line. It's a gray zone of people who have to navigate that central path of redirecting when light has to predominate, when dark has to predominate, and why and how or where light and dark has to predominate. Whereas those who are stuck in their ways, they have to be in the outside range, where and the ones who are furthest away from the outside range of light and dark, they end up being like working on the periphery of what is happening on earth. They end up being also clueless about what needs to happen next on earth, when shifts have to happen, when realignment has to happen, when change has to happen. I hope this made sense, and I know it's a complex topic that I have discussed here, but if anyone has any questions about these topics, please drop a comment. And I know I said I was going to talk about suicide, depression, loneliness, but this is the reason and purpose for suicide, depression and loneliness. When you are suicidal, you're just in the wrong place, and you have to start realizing where is your right place, and then start praying to God. When you're lonely, again, you're with the wrong people, and you have to start realigning yourself to what will dispel your loneliness. When you're depressed, part of it is because of you, so you do the part that is related to you. In all these three illnesses, part of it is something to do with you, but part of it is also to do with the people you're hanging out with, and because of which you have to redirect your life according to deciding on which people you can't hang out with anymore, because they're not helping you with your depression, loneliness or sadness, because they don't know how to work through those elements, because they're not like you, or even if they were like you in some ways, they are not ready to shift and align in the right ways that you are going, and that's why you are lonely, that's why you are depressed. And those who go through heavy depression, that's why they go through heavy depression, because they are completely with those kind of people that will not help them, that will not validate them, that are not respectful of their presence in their life. Then same way with loneliness, same way with depression, and these things are all very different from all these three groups are usually this way. After having gone through understanding Many of them are this way when they have understood the value and worth of who they are hanging out with, value and worth of who they shouldn't hang out with, value and worth of why they shouldn't hang out with them, and are now that and are at a stage of life where they have to connect with God. If they have even never earlier previously connected to God, they have to still connect to God at that point of time. Then only they can transcend all these three painful experiences. And those who can't transcend, then if they are at that brink of collapse related to depression, suicide or loneliness, many of them will invariably die as well if the right connections didn't materialize for them in their life, because that is how life works for every one of us. That's why during the pandemic so many migrant workers died. Why? Because there was no one to keep them stuck on earth, keep them living on earth, both in the place where they couldn't find work, because if one person had given them the work that they needed, and being poor people, being migrant people, even a little bit of money would have been enough to make them survive. But that little bit of money was also not accessible to them at that time. So not even one person gave them the job that they needed to do, and they could have done a very minor level job. They didn't have to do a major level job. And while government said frontline workers can open their business operations, everyone is actually a frontline worker. That was also the purpose of COVID. All it was needed was people who were every kind of work was needed on earth at that time, but some people could have also done with some rest. That's why some blockages were placed about timing. So if you worked during the timing when work hours were allowed, in those timings you could have also sought work. So either the person didn't know how to find work, or even if he asked for work, he was not getting the right work. So in a place when it's a migrant worker who has died, in the place where they could get job, they couldn't get a job. In a place where they are finding a job, if they didn't have the relevant friendships, their friends didn't understand when they are in a bad quality health. So no one was there to understand their physical health status and misery, because that also keeps you from dying. If you have the right people who understand when you are in poor health status, to give you the right health interventions, then the place they were going to, they were going back to their home. Now in their hometown also, if they don't have any really relevant family who will actually love them, who will actually care for them, who will actually give them a job or give them some work, if none of these also, or who are actually their true friends, if none of these people are existent in their hometown too, again God knows what is that person's quality, that person's capability and capacity to do something, and what is other people's capacity and capability to give them something when they need something, to provide them a home and shelter when they need a home and shelter, to provide them some food when they are completely broken, to help them with healthcare if their physical health is also failed. So that migrant worker who had all these challenges, physical health failing, psychological health failing, or emotional health failing, because no one is there to connect with them in the right way emotionally, or food scarcity is there in their hometown too, or the food that they will be eating in their hometown will be much bad quality than the food they were eating in the city. All of them combined will now, those people have to die, because that is the more merciful solution from God. And even if their families grieve, the families are already in a dire state where they are possibly living in a way where their families also can't sustain anymore, because their families also poverty stricken. So either poverty stricken or low quality food and nutrition is there in their lives. So they won't be able to give only any kind of good food. Even if they scrounge for some food, that food won't be enough food for everyone. So enough food, or enough quality food, or enough healthy food for everyone. And when it is not even healthy food for a healthy person, when someone is already in an unhealthy state, that food will not help. The unhealthy person will be the first to die, the most unhealthiest, the most unable to sustain the quality of food. So this is why also people die. And like that, when a depressed person dies, or a suicidal person is suicidal, or a loneliness driven person is lonely, These are the initial factors are the socio-economic and emotional connectivity related issues that are causing them to be like this, or safety related things in their life that are causing them to be like this. But the overarching reasons for any of these people actually ending up dying is usually because there is not enough resources, people, number of people or types of people to understand their problem and to actually bring them the help that they need to solve the problem that the person who is in these dire straits really needs resolving. Because if you take up a suicidal person, you just think he's suicidal because he got raped, but that is the person of only one person, he or she, they got raped, that's why they are suicidal. Okay, they got raped, that person is suicidal because they got raped. But that is the question, or that is the therapy that you will give to a rape patient is, if only rape was the problem in their life, that therapy will be enough. But rape plus exploitation plus other things are present in their life, you need all three related therapy at the same time, or slowly taking up one element of therapy, or giving minor level therapy of all things, and slowly building up to healing everything. You can't just treat them for rape and forget that other things like human exploitation or other people not there in their life will help them, because you give them treatment for rape and everything, but they still have no loved one, they still have no friends or family to support them when they are sick or ill or in pain. What is the point of that person surviving? The point goes away, and the point will only stay if the person transcends all this and is able to go to the next level of evolution and is able to connect to their higher purpose. If they connect to their higher purpose, then also they will survive, despite none of the social conditions there for them to survive. But if they aren't able to connect to the higher purpose, if they aren't able to transcend all this pain, and if society also isn't able to provide them the help that they actually meaningfully need, it is actually healthier if they die. It is actually merciful if they die, because their misery then adds to the pain, trauma and pain energy on earth, which is what anyone who's in the ascension journey also has come to clear. We've come to clear the pain and trauma, but you can't clear the pain and trauma if you don't even identify where the pain and trauma exists, or after the pain and trauma has been expressed, you don't know how to solve it. Then you cannot solve it in the right ways, or if you only know partially how to solve it, and real help is not going to come to them in their immediate future or even slightly distant future, then most of them are going to end up dying or committing suicide, or someone will, the kind of people who they are attracting, like this girl was attracting people exploiting her, sexploiting her, using her and psychologically manipulating her. These kind of distorted people only will come and end up killing her eventually, because this is how life is. And in order for all darkness to be eliminated, or you have to understand why darkness exists in a person's life deeply, and in order to understand the darkness of someone who is through major problems, you also have to be willing to go through some darkness in the minor level. The one who avoids darkness at the minor level ends up only becoming that psychotic manipulator or the exploiter, because he is not ready to take the minor level pain. If that person had been ready to take minor level pain, that exploiter would have one day actually seeing this girl, understood that what is this girl's pain, and would have instead helped her. Like how in the story that I am referenced, I'm going to put the cartoon clip also, and in that story that I reference, when the one of the exploiters ended up helping her, he had retained his humanity despite him being exploited a lot. He was still helping someone. So same way, and he had also lost his family, that's why he understood what it means to not lose family. He had lost his wife, but he was ready to help someone save their father instead of their spouse. So all these things, you don't have to do the exact thing, and this is what karma is. He understood the karma of the loss of his wife, that's why he was able to understand the karma of what would it be to help someone not lose their family, when he has a choice to help them not lose that person. So this is how real karma works. Real karma works in this indirect way, and real help is also like that, indirect. Sometimes it is not always a direct help, and but the meaningful real help and meaningful real love is the real help and love that truly shifts and allows someone to transcend into a better way of leading life, into breaking away from the cycle of grief and other traumas they are going through. That is what true real meaningful help means to a person who is suicidal, depressed, or going through really complex set of challenging life circumstances. And when humans learn this lesson at the micro level, then only slowly you can practice that at the macro level, and then only a true balanced leadership exists in any country, where wars won't happen, famines and calamities will not manifest. That's the only way. When you balance at the micro level, everyone is balancing it at the micro level, individual specific, social specific, socioeconomic specific levels, and you have to understand each socioeconomic status's purpose, each socioeconomic status's value, each gender's value, each different kind of human being's value and worth. The more you understand it, the deeply you understand and accept it, that is when conflicts will melt away. That is when, after the conflicts melt away, right resolutions will happen. Or you will realize that where the conflicts can't melt or resolutions can't happen, those are the places you have to exit. You can't continue living. These people who escaped a war-ridden society, sometimes when they escape those war-ridden places, why do they escape? Because they realize that their balanced perspective has no value there. Like this dad had to escape. He was a good teacher. Some of his students were only joining the Taliban. Now if they had respected his positive and negative energy and balance positive negative energy in the right way, many of his students wouldn't have joined the Taliban, or even after joining it they would have retained their humanity. But some people were able to retain it, some people were not able to retain it, and that is what determines their destiny also eventually in that lifetime. So I hope this made sense, and I know it's a long video, but I can keep talking on these topics, so that's why these are long videos. And I would love to hear from you about your own life experiences, or if you are going through some challenging life phase, drop a comment. I'll try to make a video on that. Thank you very much and have a great day.